Good morning and welcome to the November WKU Staff Senate meeting. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Jordan Basham. I'm the chair of the Staff Senate. We'll begin our meeting with our roll call. Regent Brinkley.
Present.
Senator Kanzler.
Present.
Senator Chadwick, I believe, is joining us on Zoom.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Collins.
Present.
Senator Gilbert.
Present.
Senator Henry.
I'm here.
Senator Hopwood.
Yes, sir.
Senator Inglis. And Senator Jenkins. Senator Johnson. And Senator Rhonda Jones is with us. Is Senator Lindsey Jones on Zoom yet? Yes. Thank you.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Calkins.
Present.
Senator Moran.
Present.
And Senator Purdy. Vacation. Lucky. Vice Chair Stoll.
Present.
Senator Vanderpool.
Present.
Senator Vincent.
Present.
Senator Wright.
Present.
Okay. And Senator Finn is joining us for the first time. Thank you for being here. And Chris is also back. So did I miss anybody? We'll work on updating the website a little bit. You guys will see an email about some headshots and bios and things like that for people. I always have to look at the website to get the role right. But we'll move on to the approval of our agenda that was distributed electronically. If there are no objections, I'll ask that we accept the agenda via unanimous consent. Hearing no objections, agenda is accepted. And then our next item is approval of our prior monthly minutes. Those were also distributed electronically. And same thing, if there are any objections, I'll ask those are objections, changes, modifications, anything like that. I'll ask those are accepted through unanimous consent. There are no objections, those are approved. We'll move on to the Christopher Ware Staff Star Award. Senator Vince.
Good morning. It is always an honor to present the Christopher Ware Staff Star Awards. Each month, Staff Senate recognizes individuals from across campus that were nominated by fellow staff, faculty, and even students. These individuals go above and beyond and have made a difference in so many lives. Sharing their stories and taking a few minutes to recognize their hard work was a vision Chris Ware had when he helped create this award. It is my pleasure to recognize 3 new staff members this month. Don't forget, if you work with someone or know someone across campus that goes above and beyond and deserves to be recognized, you can nominate them on our Staff Senate webpage. Our first Christopher Ware Staff Star Award goes to Debbie Disman. Debbie is the office coordinator for parking and transportation. This is from Debbie's nominator. Her contributions not only to the department, but also to the university are the true meaning of WKU's spirit. I have known Debbie for many years and she stands out for her great qualities of leadership, work ethic, positive attitude, teamwork mentality, and diligence. She is well respected in our department for being the go-to person for certain skills, getting things done, meeting short deadlines, jumping in where she is needed. Volunteering not only for our department, but also for other departments around campus, I feel she would be a great addition to the Christopher Ware Staff Star Award. Thank you for your time. Also speaking on behalf is Jenny Griffin, the Director of Parking and Transportations.
Good morning, you guys. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here to speak on behalf of Debbie. I don't have a lot to say because I think Tia, who nominated Debbie, put everything very well. I met her in 2005. We were just forming the department. We were pulling parking and transportation out from under PD. We started out in the old house off Chestnut Street where emergency management is now located. And so it's been a long time. It's been 18 years that she has been with us on campus. Debbie is our go-to. Have any of you all ever watched Suits? Suits? Yeah. This is our Donna. Debbie is our Donna. She knows how to read people. She knows how to handle situations. She never says no. She will never hear out of her mouth, it's not my job or it's somebody else's responsibility. She will make it her responsibility. She will take it on. If she doesn't already know how to do it, and after 18 years, she already knows how to do it, or she knows exactly who to call and how to get it done. But she is always on top of things. I don't know how I would get along without her. And I try to tell her that as often as I think to. It's like, I was gone for 12 years and I'm pretty sure I don't know how I did it, but I'm glad I'm back. I need you. She drives, she helps, transportation is now completely under RATP Dev. So it's subcontracted out, and that makes no difference. She is still there helping Tim McWhorter with anything he needs for transit. She drives the shuttle bus, or not the transit bus, but our 15 passenger shuttle bus. If he's having trouble getting a driver and we have a special event or circumstance where we're going to run the smaller shuttle van, she'll jump right in and take care of that. She'll work special events. She always volunteers for special events. Last Saturday, you guys, we put in 18 hours from 6 a.m. till about 6 a.m. Saturday morning to about 1 a.m. Sunday morning, hosting the Kentucky band competition, which is basically the state tournament for the bands. It's a huge deal. She was in the middle of Avenue of Champions telling these guys in the 18-wheelers and the big trucks, pulling trailers, and the big box trucks where they were going to go on Avenue of Champions. And I don't care if they like this place better, you're going down here. And she does it with a smile on her face, and they're like, okay, that's where you want me, Debbie. That's where I'm gonna go. She has it done. She loves the students. She takes care of them. She always tries to think about what's in their best interest. We've got a really hard job, and a lot of times we're not real popular. And it's challenging because it's challenging when people are not particularly happy with you quite a bit of the time. But Debbie can serve the students and the faculty and staff and visitors and guests, and she's always getting done what needs to be done without making people terribly unhappy. It's hard to take $50 from a student for a improper zone violation and have them leave the office with a smile on their face, and Debbie can do that when it's needed to be done too. So there's just really not enough time, meaningful things that I can say about her to try and convey the importance that she has to me, both professionally and personally. She's a dear friend. She got me on the phone. Had made it from Texas as far back as Tennessee, and she gets on the phone and says, Jenny, she says, Jennifer's promotion is official. They're getting ready to post her job. I go, okay. That's right. So she was very, very instrumental in my life, getting me back home, basically, because WKU and Bowling Green are my home. So it means so much to me, and I'm so proud of her. And this award is so well deserved. So thank you all. Yeah, you should come up here. Come up here too. She goes in the middle. Thank you.
Our next Christopher Ware Staff Star Award goes to Marsha Hopper. Marsha is the Student Wellness Specialist for the College of Health and Human Services. These are her words from her nominator. Marsha is overwhelmingly deserving of the Staff Star Award. Though she has only served in her position for a little over a year, her time on the Hill is unmatched. She works with students within the College of Health and Human Services and its living learning community. Marsha's ability to connect with students and create unique interaction is outstanding. She makes time to really get to know the students and be invested in their lives and well-being. On the staff side, she is an excellent colleague who radiates positivity, understanding, and grace. She truly lights up a room when entering. Those who work with her are glad they do. Also speaking on her behalf is Dr. Danita Kelly, the Senior Associate Dean for the College of Health and Human Services.
Thank you so very much. And I see Marsha, she's tears in her eyes. That is Marsha. And the nomination was spot on about Marcia. And as it alluded to, Marcia, this is her second year in this particular position. She has been a staff member at Western Kentucky University and a part-time faculty teaching for many years. Are we pushing 19 at this point? 19. Yes. Congratulations. And we benefit continually, and most importantly, our students benefit continually. Marcia is the ultimate she's an ultimate professional, an ultimate in putting students first. And she prepares. We've been talking about this recently, about her preparation that she will do. She makes it look so easy, and it is for her, but we know sometimes to do the best job, it does take a lot of preparation. And she researches and comes and presents things from an academic standpoint. And she absolutely puts her colleagues and students first. I see her in the hall all the time. She's meeting with students, but very often what she's doing is she is going to the students to meet with them, particularly in the living and learning community. She will do this on evenings, on weekends, in the afternoons, phone calls, support for them in times when I know it is not convenient for her to do, but she goes so much above and beyond. She cares for them, and they know it. They know the genuineness of what she brings to them, and respect her for her knowledge and her years of experience and her training that she has had over the years as in related to teaching in the social work profession as well. And we're just tickled to have her. And there's proof in our retention numbers with the living learning community that it's not just anecdotal. We have it in those numbers, and she partners with a lot of great folks in Housing and Residence Life, and as well with our other student wellness navigator, Amy Weininger, for a variety of outstanding services for our students. And Dean Tanya Basta, she's also here, and so my comments are also on behalf of Dean Basta, who this was her brainchild for this, and we feel so fortunate to have someone like Marcia here to help implement. Thank you.
Our final Christopher Ware Staff Star Award goes to Megan Oliver. Megan is the Assistant Director of Leadership and Volunteerism in DSU. Speaking on her behalf is Amelia Call, Assistant Director of Student Activities.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so honored to be able to speak on Megan this morning. So just a little bit about Megan. She started working in DSU as a student worker only 2 years ago. In the past 2 years, she went from student worker to graduate assistant to coordinator. So all of this has moved very quickly for her. And a lot has happened in her short amount of time professionally. Over the past year in her first professional job, she has also been balancing graduate school for a master's in student affairs and higher education. Megan has had to grow up quick, but she has successfully taken on her responsibilities. In DSU, she regularly troubleshoots AV issues, works with student organizations, on-campus departments, and community groups for them to utilize the union space for meetings, conferences, and other events. So staff Senate meeting happening today. You can thank Megan for getting that set up for you all. I've also had the privilege of supervising Megan for her internship for her master's program this semester. In student activities where she's added new perspectives to the programs we facilitate. Megan has a strong work ethic and an abundance of knowledge on DSU. Megan's supervisor, Sandra Huey, says Megan is the glue of DSU. I couldn't do my job without her. I'm so proud to call Megan a friend and a colleague and believe she is very deserving of the Christopher Ware Staff Star Award.
Star.
Thank
Staff Senate, thank you all for the nominations and thank you all for coming to me.
Our next item is a special presentation. We're joined by Dr. Andrew Head and Zach Jones from the WKU Center for Financial Success. Gentlemen. Is it? Oh, you're already on it. Man, you guys are good at this game.
So I'm Andrew Head. This is Zach Jones. We're from the Center for Financial Success, Department of Finance. It's our outreach program with the departments. We've had interactions in some form or another, several over the years. Yeah, Zach. So I've been the faculty director since the beginning. Zach here started out as a student coach, and then he's risen through the ranks so that now he's actually our first full-time staff member of the Center for Excellence in the College of Business. So yeah, the program coordinator or program manager, soon to be, I guess, maybe assistant director. So yeah, hopefully, yeah. So yeah, we got Zach here to tell you a little bit about the center, and then we'll answer some of the questions that we received.
Well, we're excited to be here. Thank you guys for taking time. It's good to see. Like Andrew said, there's a number of faces I recognize, some I don't recognize. Welcome to our those that are joining over Zoom. So I'm gonna do a little bit of overview real quick on just what the center, what all we do. When you hear financial success in your center, it can strike a lot of different meanings for different people. So we're gonna go over that real quick, just some of the work we're doing, and then we also received a few questions from staff, so we're going to do our best to tackle those questions as well. Our primary, so one of the cool things about being housed in the center or housed in the business college, while our services are available to all students, is we get to hire aspiring financial planning students to work for us as financial coaches. So it's a picture of our team. We've got 8 coaches currently working for us. All aspiring financial planners, and they're getting a really cool, not only are they getting to serve the student population and in certain instances staff and faculty, but they're also getting to a really cool applied learning experience that turns into a it's very desirable by employers, because this is one of the few experiences they can get where they can actually have client meeting experience. A lot of their internships, they get a lot of back office work and get to develop plans and stuff, but what employer is going to let a 21-year-old lead a meeting with a client that's got significant assets, right? So getting to work with their peers and others is been it's a game changer for them. So incredible students work for us. What we offer is we offer peer financial coaching. This is a one-on-one offering We are housed in Grice Hall, Grice 300, formerly the political science space. When the new business building is built, we'll be on the first floor of that. And so, we have, coaching sessions that happen just about every day of the semester. We do outreach, so you may be seen as in a classroom or talking to an organization or, in the past, I think it's been a bit of a distant past. We've also, in partnership with HR, had a series for, staff and faculty. And we'd be interested in doing it again. So with our outreach, we've also started doing stuff in the employee wellness space. Andrew will actually be at Pan Austin this afternoon, delivering a presentation on automobile purchasing. So he's done a series of those over the semester. And then we also may be seen as our personal finance camp for high schoolers. So if you know any high schoolers that want to learn a little bit about finance, get some experience on campus at a really great rate. We have a Bound Credit Union sponsors the camp, so it makes it very affordable. We also offer that. So I'm gonna have to step a little closer just so I can see this a little bit better myself. I don't have the whole thing memorized. Some things with our primary services, focused, whether it's our presentations or our coaching sessions, it's not exclusive to this, but a lot of what we're working on is helping students establish spending plans, or whoever our client is, establishing spending plans, budgets, addressing student loan situations, paying for school. It's one of our objectives to help students pay for school more efficiently and effectively. We want them to be, whatever they want to do is what we want to help them get. We want to get them there. And so for a lot of them, that is reducing how much money they're borrowing. We want to help them make that happen. We do a lot of post-grad planning, so helping students when they get their first job offer, make sure it makes sense, can afford to live where they're possibly headed, helping figure out their benefits and all, at a surface level, just helping them understand the different concepts, so they can figure out what their take-home pay is going to be. Credit, as well as kind of having a plan of action, so what steps they can take on their own. So most of our outreach, I've already kind of discussed this, I'm gonna kind of slide by, but most of it is we have a couple of general presentations. We have one that's more targeted to underclassmen. We have one targeted more towards upperclassmen, but then also, as mentioned with Andrew's doing, Allison and other requests that we get, we can kind of tailor a presentation to whatever the need is. Slide by that. So who are we working with? This is not exhaustive by any means. We work with university experience courses. We work with 161 sections. We have a pretty cool class within our department called Finance 161. It's a culinary program course. And so we think, well, if we're gonna have a finance class, we should do our best to make sure those students really are actually applying and stuff. So we work with them pretty closely. With a lot of I'm also one of the business LLC fellows. So obviously we work very closely with the business LLC. But as Marsha was getting a word earlier, we're going to be in Marsha's class next week. So we try to serve as many of our LLC students and as many of our students as possible. DLI is another example. We do stuff with ISEC. We're actually going to offer our first classes, first Finance 161 class that'll have the center very much involved with it. That's going to be directly targeted towards ISEC and first gen students next semester. Greek organizations and on. So basically we're trying to touch as much of our first priority when Andrew first started this was how many students can we impact? And so we finally hit that point where we feel like our hands are in a ton of different pots trying to serve as many student populations as we possibly can. And I think there's still room for growth there, but that's where all of a sudden some of this other stuff's coming from, like the summer camps, like our employee wellness initiatives, because we feel like we're finally not quite getting to the corners of campus, but we're getting closer. And so I'd say and this is not a coaching session number, but just in general, how many students are we touching over a year? At least over 1,500, if not more, between presentations. We had just calendar year 2022, nearly 400 coaching sessions, nearly 60-something presentations. As an academic year, oops, sorry. I'm not sure why one bullet was highlighted, that was not intentional. But, and then as an academic year, it's kind of similar numbers. Now, I will say, this is the first year, for whatever reason, since COVID, that our presentation numbers are going back up. I'd say by the end of this coming year, we'll had nearly 100 presentations once again. So we're really excited about that. So we're making an impact. Just I'm gonna skip this slide. These are just statistics. You guys can feel free to share the PowerPoint afterwards. Well, I'll read a couple of them. According to national survey, 70% of college students feel stressed about their finances. 25% feel like they don't have a trustworthy source to access financial information. The average credit card debt for Americans is nearly $8,000. 64% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, including 49%, which are making more than $100,000, are living paycheck to paycheck. So that's, our goal is to help solve these statistics, right? And help our students and our staff and faculty and anyone that comes into our door, if we can help make sure that this stuff is changing, right? And that WKU is not contributing to these statistics. So I'm going to read at least, there's some testimonies of some experiences we've had. We had a situation last year where a student came in and she came out of a Finance 161 class, and her question was actually, how do I make sure that my residual goes to my account? My residual check from financial aid goes to my account and not Bank Mobile. And I sat down with her and I was trying to figure out why it's so late. But my mind's going, why are you getting this so late in the semester? So we started looking at things, and it ended up to a broader conversation where, because of a couple of technical errors in the system and her maybe missing a couple emails, and just in financial aid in general, it's just, it's not we have a great financial aid department, but it's a foreign language to a student, right? We discovered that for whatever reason, she hadn't used any of her subsidized or unsubsidized loans, right? At the time, we're about 4 or 5%, and instead have taken out private loans at 12%. And there was a system error with a scholarship too, and started doing some math. And we fortunately caught her as a freshman, but I did the math on the difference of what it would cost if she had just kept her private loan borrowing and not refinance back into the more efficient loans, and also got the scholarship sorted out and all that good stuff. She would have paid an extra $24,000 over her repayment period if she was just doing 10-year repayment period. So we catch students a lot of times. I can't tell you how many, like I've lost track of the number of times we have a student who comes in who's borrowed the wrong kind of loan, didn't realize how much they borrowed. Mom or dad made a decision for them. They didn't really realize it, or maybe mom and dad told them and they weren't listening, so we know that happens too. But however it happened, they end up with a situation where they don't really understand what they've done. They know they're here, they know they've done something, but they need someone just to sit down and walk hand in hand with them, say, hey, you can still do this, but let's help you do this more efficiently. Let's help you do this where you're not going to be freaking out when graduation rolls around. So we have a lot of stories. We had one literally 2 weeks ago where, once again, there was confusion, and a freshman was under the impression that she needed to take out private loans and had a 17% interest rate on her private loans, and had yet to, and it was under certain verification, key to verification, so it hadn't received subsidized loans, unsubsidized loans yet. So it had a $10,000 loan for first semester at 17% instead of the 5% that she would have. So some of the situations we run into where we're helping students, helping people plan and pay for some of school. One of my favorite, I'll share one more story because it's my favorite story. We had a student who started out working with Andrew, I believe. This was years ago. This was like in 2018. Started working with Andrew as a senior. About the time I was working as a student, 2017, 2018. And then by the time she went from senior to grad program, 2 years of grad program, by the time she got done working with us, sticking to her budget plan, she paid for her last year of grad school in cash completely. $20,000 paid in cash. And so it was, and it wasn't like she was making a ton of money, but she lived frugal, she budgeted hard, she planned hard, and she did that. And it took 3 years to get to that point, but she did it. And so that's some of the work that we're doing, helping students. Now, I'm telling you the big stories, the eye-opening ones. Obviously, we have students that come in who literally, you know, they just need help with the budget, or they just need somebody to look at things, say, hey, you're good, or maybe they have a mechanism that drives them into the center and they're not really sure why they're there. We have to help them. And, you know, it's not this crazy productive, you know, crazy meeting that's eye-opening, but, we never know when a student's gonna walk in, it's gonna be like a situation like this. That's why we try to get as many of them to come and talk to us as possible. And every student can benefit from financial literacy. So that's a little bit about what we were doing and some of the stories. And so we had a few questions that were asked in the staff from the staff poll that went out. And so the first one, I'll tackle the first one. Andrew may tie into it, and then Andrew's going to tackle the last two. Is what are, say, the top 3 budgeting mistakes the average person makes? And we preach this, but the first one is just not actually having some kind of written plan. And what I mean by written plan, it can be a paper, it can be a spreadsheet, it can be budgeting app. We really like using youneedabudget.com as one of our favorites. But it's just not having something where it's actually written out and actually expenses are getting tracked. So in other words, relying on instead an available balance mobile banking app, or, you know, a bank statement, just kind of looking at big, large number of what's in the account and not actually planning out how spending is going to occur. Seems to be like the biggest kind of mistake is kind of trusting ourselves to be able to kind of plan this stuff out in our head. We see that happen a lot. So the biggest thing is just getting everything on pen and paper and then tracking and seeing if it actually happens. That alone makes like a world of difference. The other thing that catches people up is they do plan maybe for all the monthly expenses, but then in their monthly budget, they don't plan for the irregular expenses. So like say, like Christmas is coming up, right? So it's gift time. So rather than trying to come up with, say, $600 in December, saving $50 a month throughout the year. Or like auto maintenance, like knowing, like the fact that we know auto maintenance is going to happen, but just don't know when it's going to happen, right? So like those are the things. So it's sometimes people are doing really well planning for what I have to pay for now, but don't think it just doesn't register. Okay, I could also just budget for the other stuff. Then that tells me truly how much I have left over to spend and have fun with that month. And then this is just a saying, not rolling with the punches. The other thing is like, I think what gets a lot of people sometimes, this isn't necessarily like a hard skill or technical side. It's just like you have a couple bad months, like, you know, car breaks down, you forget about an expenditure, and all of a sudden, like all the progress you feel like you made is erased. And then so they, instead of sticking to trying to use the budgeting principles, you know, actually having a written plan, planning out how you're going to spend your money, all that kind of stuff, instead just kind of quit, go back to using available balance on mobile banking app, you know, just kind of, it's more of a mental thing. Staying on it is kind of one of the things that really can throw people off a lot of times as well. Those are 2 things we see a lot of.
To add to a couple of those items, I understand first of all that anytime anybody comes to us and is asking for advice on how better to get ahead on their money, there's never been anybody in the history of mankind that has been excited to hear budgeting as the answer. Nobody wants to budget, right? Like it sucks. Like nobody wants to, it's like dieting. Now we'll say, like, if you frame it a little bit differently, like sometimes the power of just words can help a little bit. I hate calling it a budget. It's a spending plan, and it actually is a spending plan. A budget is much more like a word to kind of describe constraint, right? But realistically, it's about the fact that like you have all of these different things that you got to pay for over the course of your life. You have to have a plan. Otherwise, you just end up reacting to everything. Like if you're wondering why you can't get ahead, it's because you haven't done any planning to get ahead. You're waiting for everything to come at you and hoping and praying that you've got enough money maybe in your available balance to deal with it. But it just doesn't work over the time. Our brains are not wired that. And it makes it even hard to enjoy the things that you want to enjoy. Like those of you that are not budgeting, like one when was the last time you went out for a meal and didn't feel a little bit guilty about it? Or you bought yourself something that didn't make you feel a little bit bad, like something's gonna happen, it's gonna come up. And it's amazing watching people that actually like take this on. 'Cause it's no fun at first, but it doesn't take nearly as long to get set up as you'd expect. But one of the things that the most profound thing that happens is you watch the financial anxiety, which is like no other anxiety on the planet. You watch it kind of disappear. Because what you have now with a budget is a list of all the demons that are coming after you, right? When you don't have that, it's all out there in the ether. It's like, there's something coming at me. I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be something. Well, by the time you've been budgeting for like 6 months or less, even just a couple of months, honestly, you've got 95% of your demons identified. In any given month, if you're just setting a little bit of money aside for those things, you're also setting money aside for the things that you enjoy, and you can actually enjoy those things. You actually watch people's money spent on like frivolous things, like the retail therapy kind of stuff. You watch them stop doing that as much because they're actually getting more value or more like good feelings out of the purchases that they are making because they know they can. Yeah, and by all means, like there's like, I would say as well, like there's a lot of shame with this stuff. Like most of us carry around a certain degree of shame about like how we should have done this or done that. We're not, and it keeps people from reaching out to get help. And I'm telling you, like there is no judgment in our offices. Like I've sat with folks that have that are university distinguished professors that are weeping in my office because they saying like, I have a PhD, like I'm one of the most foremost people in my field. Why can't I get my finances in order? And it's like, well, because when in your degree program did you ever study personal finance? Like it's just not part of our education system consistently. And like stop beating yourself up about it. Like there's never been a more complicated time to be managing money in the entire history of the world. Like stop listening to your parents and grandparents, like, oh, in my day, we just had a different attitude about things. We just had to save money to buy things. You didn't make that choice. You just didn't have access to credit like we do. You don't have the same kind of like pressures on your money like we do these days. All right, so moving on though, like, so I can get a little over preachy about the budgeting thing. These are my guess. But yeah, come and see us. All right, so shockingly, we've got a question about insurance, health insurance. In particular, first of all, what a disaster. Like, it's just a nightmare trying to figure out what you're gonna actually pay for anything when it comes to healthcare in particular. Like, there's so many moving parts. When you're evaluating a plan, you can't just look at the premium, because the premium is directly reflective of what kind of deductible you're going to be dealing with and what kind of co-insurance and max out of pocket and co-pays and all that kind of nonsense. Literally, I have to use a spreadsheet to be able to compare and contrast the plans. It's an assignment that I give to my students in one of my courses. Is they've actually got I give them a fake amount of expense, and they've got to tell them which of these plans would have been best. And there's not really a good way to do it without having to come up with a spreadsheet. Because after you deal with all that, you've also got credits and stuff like that, like HSA credits and HRA credits and whatnot. But simple terminology here. The premium is what you have to pay. Think of it as like the cover charge. Like to get into the nightclub, like you don't get any drink with that. Like they're not you don't get anything for it except like an entry fee is all it is. And it's frustrating as all get out because like you pay as much as you pay for that, and then you still have to pay for all of your healthcare after that. It's like, right? So you pay your premium, and then you have to contend with this deductible. The copay, before we go further with like deductibles and co-insurance, to be clear, copay is just you've got to prepay a little bit of the expense anytime you go to the doctor. It counts towards the deductible and the max out of pocket expense for the year. But that's just to keep people, honestly, for like those folks that have actually reached a point in their healthcare spending over the course of the year, so that where the insurance company's paying for everything, that copay still keeps people from like just going to the doctor for any old thing. But it's kind of a separate way of paying for part of the other expenses towards your deductible. So it's honestly kind of a trivial thing in a lot of ways, the way our plan works. And that the copays count towards the deductible and stuff. The deductible for the various plans here, we've got a $3,200 deductible and an $1,100 deductible plan and a $1,600 deductible plan. The premium that you pay for these plans is all gonna be relative to that deductible. If you wanna have a lower deductible, you're gonna pay a higher monthly premium. All three of the plans that we have are virtually the same. Like they're all gonna cover cancer and all gonna cover all the various diseases and so forth. The only difference between them now is really just how you wanna pay for your expenses. Do you wanna have a higher ongoing cost? The higher monthly premium in exchange for like less unpredictable expenses, you know, you have like a lower deductible, so it's gonna be less money out of pocket. Or are you willing to like I wouldn't say throw caution to the wind or anything like that, or just willing to accept a higher deductible in exchange for a lower ongoing premium? And the fact that it comes with an HSA and all that kind of stuff. But the deductible is like you have a $3,200 deductible, that means that the first $3,200 medical bills you're gonna get this year, all on you, 100%. Unless it's going to the doctor for a physical, which is covered 100%. So the deductible is there, you gotta pay all that until like you reach that level. The reason that a lot of people get confused as all get out about this stuff is because we are under the impression that once you reach your deductible, the insurance company should pay for everything now. Nope. Then you reach this phase called the co-insurance phase. So you think about like the first part of the year, you're paying for everything on your own, and then you're gonna reach a point where you're gonna share the expenses with the insurance company for depending on what plan you're on, it could be anywhere from 15 to 30% if you're in network. And so now that doesn't mean that if you get like $100,000 medical bill that you're gonna have to come up with $15,000. Because there's also this other thing associated with the plan called the max out-of-pocket provision. All of the plans have a fairly similar max out-of-pocket. It's like give or take $1,000 on like between one or the other. The ones that have the higher out-of-pocket maximums tend to have the lower monthly premiums and that kind of thing. But once you have reached that out-of-pocket maximum of about $5-ish, somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000, depending on which plan you end up in. After that, the insurance company takes care of everything the rest of the year, which is why it's impossible to find a doctor's appointment at about this time of the year, especially for anything kind of elective surgeries and like stuff that's not emergency, because everybody's at that point in the year right now where the insurance company's paying for everything. And if I wait until January 1st, now it's gonna be like everything resets and I'm back to paying my deductible, reaching that, and then my co-insurance and everything else all over again. So that's hopefully a crash course there. I got just a brief primer on what some of those things are. Just to make things confusing, it's completely different what a deductible is in health insurance versus like auto insurance and homeowners insurance and so forth. So yeah, insurance is I'm happy to come back and just do sessions on like just insurance. There's plenty to talk about there. So this question regarding investing, we got just a little bit of time here. Outside of your retirement account, how do you get started? Well, the answer to this question is like a lot of the answers in personal finance, which is it depends. It depends on a whole host of things. It really comes down to like what are the goals for the money that you're saving. If you're saving for retirement, then like that carries with it a certain set of expectations. If it's more of like a short-term thing, then we might look at something else. If you're dealing with anything less than 10 years that you're saving for, don't bother. Don't mess with the stock market. There's the potential that you're going to make a fairly sizable rate of return over that period of time, but the chance of you having a bad few years there that could really make it hard for you to reach your goal is high enough that you don't want to take that chance, really. Now, on the other hand, stocks are the perfect investment for retirement for long term, depending on how much time you've got till retirement. A lot of folks tend to think of the stock market as like overly risky, and that's it's like gambling. It is only if you're doing it wrong. Because realistically, when it comes to investing, whether that's in a retirement account or outside of a retirement account, the hardest thing to do is stay invested. Like, first of all, figure out that you need to invest and then just stick to it. Because there's gonna be any number of things that are gonna be going on in the economy and the news and the just in the world that are gonna make you believe that I should pull my money out of the stock market. But I'm telling you, it's where wealth is created in this country. Like, there is no other place to make money like you can on the stock market. The average rate of return on the stock market over the course of like its history is around 10% annualized. There's like, you can't get that in real estate. You can't get that in like bonds and like fixed income investing and so forth. So like, it's gotta be stocks. Now, on the other hand, like, that's like, I don't wanna make general recommendation or specific recommendations and stuff like that here. Just, that's generally what people are gonna invest in for retirement, and why they do is because it's where you can make the most money. Types of accounts though, we recommend here at the university, first of all, make sure that you're utilizing things like our university. We got a 403B plan, a Roth 403B plan. So you have the general sort of typical traditional 403B, where it's the optional retirement plan that a lot of folks are using instead of the pension. You know, that's like, you contribute there, you get money, you get the deduction for that on your paycheck and so forth. Then there's this thing called the Roth 403B that you can contribute to. You don't get a tax deduction, but the benefit of it is that any of the money that you accumulate in there for the course of time, by the time you get to retirement after age 59 and a half, all of that can come out to you 100% tax-free. So not just the contributions, but all of the growth and stuff on that as well. Like, there's just no other like place that you can invest to get that kind of like tax treatment. And that's one of the only things that you can control when it comes to investing is taxes. The other is fees. And like, that's like, they're pretty low cost here with the university. As far as like outside of the retirement plan, there's a number of online brokerage firms, Charles Schwab, E-Trade, those kinds of things. It doesn't take but 5 minutes to set up an account, tie it to a checking account, have them automatically draft some money. A lot of people you can pick like just a target date retirement fund. It's a mutual fund that has a particular date in the future. Like, my students are looking at like the 2070 fund right now. And so that over the course of time, the closer we get to 2070, the mix of the investments changes up to be a little bit more conservative the closer you get to that retirement date. And that's just an easy kind of set it and forget it and do the hardest part of investing, which is just get started doing it. After that, just let America take care of it. Like, America's good at making money. It's really good at making money. In fact, it's the best ever at making money. Stop second guessing it. Just let America make that money for you and sit on your butt and collect paychecks. Like, God bless America. That's just the most American thing I could ever imagine to be, just to sit on my rear end and just make money. So hopefully that was a little help. We'll try to tackle a couple big topics in just a very short amount of time here. Any other questions? Follow up.
Real quickly, I know there's also an option here for a 457. Can you quickly, like, the benefits versus not the 457 versus the 403B, or should it have both? Or
the 457 allows for, it's a little bit more flexible for with taking distributions earlier, if I'm not mistaken. It's like, I think you can start taking them at age 55.
I know that your personal contribution limit, like for your 403B, the 22.5 plus your, you know, if you want to use the catch up to 7,500. The nice thing about the 457 is, even if you do that with the 403B, you can still do that with the 457. Whereas like, you wouldn't be able to do that with like you wouldn't. That's one of the advantages of 457, I guess, is that you can have that extra contribution. Now when it comes to early withdrawals, I'm not sharp on that.
Yeah,
I'm studying for an exam that covers that. That's why I know that.
is just to follow up. Sorry.
Go ahead.
You serve anybody. Do you counsel many staff, and among those, are you seeing a significant amount of financial stress among staff right now?
We do counsel staff. Now, we do get a little bit of probably selection bias in that like the people that come to see us generally are struggling. That's why they're there, but it's definitely anecdotally, like speaking with staff across campus, there's certainly pressure. We're not all here for all the big fat paychecks, I'm guessing. So like we've got the same struggle as anybody else, and we do counsel staff and faculty. The only thing that we really don't we don't really get into because of liability issues is investment recommendations and like specific insurance policy recommendations and stuff like that, that generally is going to require some licensure of some sort.
Go ahead.
Just on a macro basis, have you ever talk more broadly about things like how a labor union might impact campus or how dues might come out of paychecks, and do you see the advocacy versus not? I mean, I know several universities that have labor unions on different scales, some for the faculty, some for the faculty and staff, in terms of, the pay advocacy. I just didn't know if you all ever do any larger types of analysis to think about those propositions.
We haven't. Now I will say on the other hand, I've been here, this is my 14th year, and this last year has been the first time I've actually been hearing from multiple people, like, we need a union. We're saying we need to have a union or something, whether or not that's the answer or not. I think I'm not gonna weigh in on that today, but yeah, there's definitely talk of it for sure. Appreciate it.
Sure.
I would just like to say that I took Dr. Head's class as part of our health insurance conglomeration. What was it 2018, 2019, I
It was like
think?
2015, actually.
Was that long ago? Okay, time flies. We're all just getting old. Anyway, I would just like to say that I don't know if there's anybody here on the benefits committee, but I strongly urge that become an available option along with getting a colonoscopy or a stress test, that his class be offered towards gaining points to meet your vitality recommendation, because I got more out of taking his class than I did going and getting a physical. So
Or was it?
yeah, more pleasant, more informative. So I would just like, no question. It's just that if anybody has any questions about anything financial, if you need real world advice and recommendations, no nonsense, cut straight to the point, then that is your group right there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's
Any other questions?
Question about your peer financial coaching. Do you guys offer it through Zoom as well? Because I work with online students and they're not able to come to campus. So do you guys have Zoom sessions they can schedule, or
We can do Zoom, yeah,
so they can just set something up?
absolutely. Yeah, on our website, we have a become a client. And they click there, see how it works, and then from there, if they, can communicate to us that, hey, I can't come in person, we'll start Zoom with them.
Great, thank you.
actually pretty well trained on Zoom, actually.
We actually had an increase, surprisingly. It's crazy. It sounds, we had a huge uptick in coaching sessions during COVID. And Zoom was largely the reason why that was possible.
Speaking of which, anybody on Zoom have a question? Could you go back to, you referenced a partnership that used to exist with HR was it for presentations or?
I believe it was what was just being referenced. That kind of predates me.
It was, I think it was Wade's first year in the role, and we piloted this program. I think it was 8 sessions.
Okay.
It was in the evening.
Yeah.
We met up at Price Hall, 1 or 2 days a week, I think, for like 7 months or
Yeah, it was
6 weeks.
covered just a variety of topics.
Buying a house, buying a car, making a budget. It was great. I did it again.
It sounds like that's a conversation we'll have again.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
We have to do it once
Yeah.
we learn or whatever.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, gentlemen, thank you very much for. We appreciate the time of you coming and joining us today, and then also that you do to support faculty, staff, and students in the community. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. It's a lot of fun.
We'll leave, We'll leave some flyers and some handout cards as well, if anybody wants to put their locations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
And Senator Henry, thank you for your help in scheduling this. Appreciate it. I think a lot of benefit for folks. We'll move on to our report section of our agenda. Read it briefly.
So we had our October the 20th committee meetings. It was the second longest, President reminded us, second longest Regents meeting he had been to. There was a lot of good discussion on the agenda. There were some program suspensions on the academic affairs side. Couple of emeritus appointments. There were information items, academic affairs update. All of this, of course, is available to you online under the board's site. We reviewed quarterly financial statements, had Bruce Weissman, the internal auditor, had a internal audit kind of report update and methodology update. I can't recommend, or I can't, speak. I really think he and his staff are gonna have a positive impact on campus. And I think that that's a good thing. Student Affairs Committee had just a presentation related to Image West, the student advertising group that does projects as needed for other areas of campus and community. On the Finance and Budget Committee side, there was probably the most discussion. There was the auditor's general reports, the audit finished in a great place. It was done on time. There were no findings. The new auditor seems to be in a really strong position to be very effective in getting things done. I applaud their effort. I have absolutely no complaints about Forbes. I think that they're doing an outstanding job. And I can also say that because they work with us in athletics, what I do outside of here, we have independent audits that we have to do every year, and we've had good conversations back and forth so far. There was a statement of revenues and expenditures that was approved. Again, most of this is on that site. There were some operating budget revisions, and that was where there was some spirited discussion, and I don't know if I have 100% clarity yet, but I think I'm getting closer. So when we accept moving carry forward back into a budget, that becomes an operating expenditure revision. And we did that to the tune of a little over $18 million for the current fiscal year. We approved some personnel actions. There was some behind the scenes discussion about those. And I was torn on this, and also frankly on the budget revisions. I've been critical of the fact that those salaries and individual salaries are listed. And the before and after are listed. Fundamentally, I believe that departments should be able to manage the amounts that they give people independently, and we approve amounts and not individuals. I don't think that's a healthy way to operate. There's still some discussion about how to actually present that. All that being said, there were some individuals that the president recommended for raises. And when you think about the board's role and the significance of individual salaries, it is one of the, and this is a difficult thing to say, but I want you all to understand it. It's one of the smallest items of financial approval that we do. A raise, even a $40,000 raise, is way different than a vote for an $18.6 million carry forward or a $400 million budget. So it is difficult to get into the world of micromanaging the president or the executive vice president's office if we single henpeck at raises. I can say that I think that the opinions are great and we have them, but I have absolutely no fiduciary reason based on the money and the allocations to not approve those. And as a fiduciary, that's a responsibility. Along with that, I will say there was some internal audit charter revisions that we did. Look, I don't have to approve of the raises personally or philosophically, but if the president recommends them and I don't have a reason to not do it, a fiscal reason, it's a challenge. And I'll tell you all, I lost sleep over this a couple of different nights, and it was very difficult. It's not very difficult on the administrative side. It's a small amount of money. But I also think about some questions that come, and I think they're legitimate, especially when people are looking at 1 or 2% versus some that are at 4, 11, 17%, things like that. But again, that's what the president wanted. I have no reason to say no to that. And he'll own that responsibility just fine. I do want to talk on something very positive though, related to construction projects. Not necessarily how we're spending or overspending money related to those, but you know, if you think about where we are as a university and how we used to manage construction. Again, this is not talking about facilities, but I'm talking about broader capital projects like buildings. We're in a better position than we were 10 years ago. There's not bonds or the debt load isn't really increasing. We're building things right now really on the back of dedicated state appropriations. That's a different approach, and that is a more fiscally sound approach. Remember, I want to say these are my opinions. I don't know or care if the administration agrees with me on this, but I feel like that's a positive feature of some of the ways that the university is managing its money. They're also investing more in terms of cash on hand than they have in the past. And I think all of these measures are more sound financial things that they do. You know, when you manage money, like our friends were just talking about, you talk about budgets as kind of this painful thing. But when we modify our spending and look at ways that the university can operate more efficiently overall, and this has nothing to do with individual departments or whether or not each of us are paid enough. I'm talking about how the university as a whole operates. It is good to see things like debt load not increasing on building investments and investments of cash on hand. Those are positive things. It should help us if we, you know, not a lot of people think about it, but we care about Moody's ratings, we care about financial ratings, and we're in a good position on those. So it makes for a more sound total plant fiscally than say 10 years ago or even 8 years ago. And that was a goal of President Kavoni when he came in, and I think he's done a lot to move that forward. Do I agree with everything that he's done? Absolutely not. You know that I vocally and I've said things in his face that I disagree with, and I would do it right now. And he'll probably hear about what I'm saying in this meeting, and that's fine too. But as a fiduciary, we have seen this ship begin to turn. Now, if we can get some other things in line, I think more regular adjustments for staff. I think faculty in many areas are also maybe under compensated. And I think the approval for that structure is a little more difficult because it, you know, as anybody will tell you, it's easy when you have a one-time expense to float or change or move things around. Where it gets more difficult is when it's a recurring expense, and personnel and people, those are recurring expenses and they typically go up. So while I would like to see more and we'll retire from here saying that probably, as most people will, they always want more. I think that there's a group that's trying to manage that as best they can. I'm generally satisfied with everything that happened in that meeting. And if anybody has any concerns or questions, if I can answer them, I'm happy to do it. Okay. And I'll email them.
Thank you. Senator Collins? Thank you. Back over here. Senator Vincent? Thank you. Senator Henry?
Treasurer's report. E&G index, starting balance $3,668 and change, ending balance $3,668. Our staff excellent fund, an addition of $18.35 means that our starting balance $1,943.37 is now $1,961.72. Our book scholarship started at $1649.84, addition of $10 for an ending balance of $1,659.84.
Thank you. And Senator Gilbert,
No report.
Senator Moran,
No report.
Vice Chair. Oh,
I only have one report. It's from Human Resources. The 2024 holiday calendar is available online for everybody to view. So if you go to the HR website, go to Employee Tools tab at the top and go down to Holiday Calendar, the 2024 calendar for those who want to start planning for next year. It is available.
okay. For my report, I'll point everybody to Susan's email from the 17th that notified the campus community of the acceptance of the BC recommendation for utilization of the 2% pool. 1% of that pool, or half of that 2% pool, as a flat, and then another percent to be used, the other half to be used in a strategic manner, distributed proportionally to divisions. So roughly the way that works out, the staff portion of salaries that make up the 2% pool are roughly $995,000. So half of that is going to go to strategic use to address compensation issues for employees. If you're an employee who finds yourself under the minimum of your pay band, or another compensation issue, if you're in an area where inversion is something that can be identified, or compression. My hope, and this item, the use in this way was, it was a unanimous vote from members of the BC, but I voted yes, and I'll tell you that my hope is that division leaders and leaders across campus can take the strategic money and use it to apply to specific areas instead of, I think it's good to do the across the board, but this is an opportunity to provide funding for of different types. Gina's in athletics and I'm in public media. The needs of our areas are different, and how those are applied to other places on campus are different. So the hope is that we can be as flexible as possible so that areas can address their specific needs. I would encourage members of the Senate to have conversations with leadership in your areas about what plans are and what conversations are and how you can support that. And if you would also ask if you can report that back to the Senate. I'll say in David's area, we've had ongoing discussions about how to approach that in our area. And that's something I'm sure we'll talk about once we make some decisions and report that back. But that's really the big chunk of my report. Met with the president. We moved our meeting up a week. Had a lot of discussion about his presentation, budget items, actually talked about the Center for Financial Success coming here. And then I conveyed to him my point of view of the Senate. And so I'll say it to you too. The conversations that we're having this year have I think the last couple of years, we've really stepped up the level of conversation and the engagement that folks have. So I told him about that, but I want to say to you guys, thank you for being engaged. I know it takes a little bit in a public meeting to speak up, but it's a big deal that folks are willing to do that, not just for themselves, but to help their staff members that aren't in this room right now. So thank you. That concludes my report. And I'll flip over here. Okay, we'll move on. If there's any old business that needs to be brought up. I'm not aware of any right now. So any new business, this would be a place if you have a topic that you want to bring up for discussion with the Senate, a question or anything for us to discuss. Herb?
Can I get up and address the Senate? Or do you want me to wait or?
Well, give me a minute, we'll move to public comment next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
First, I want to say I appreciate being here, being able to be here, being able to voice my voice, and I just want to share something that's gonna sound like small peanuts, but it's my peanuts. And so I just want to maybe express a concern for something else to be considered in the future. When you look at the 1%, and I appreciate what you said, I'm thankful that we got the 1%. But when you look at it in the full scope, and talking about my small peanuts here, that I know we had the raise with the medical, or the increase with the medical being $50 a month for a family plan. And also what I found interesting, and I didn't realize this was gonna happen, is that I kept all my options the same across the board. So the employee optional life insurance increased $20.70 for me a month. The spouse optional life insurance, which I kept the same, increased $1.50 a month. The short-term disability also increased, and I realized it's at $12.18 more a month. So I do realize that these are gonna increase because of age, rate of pay, that kind of stuff. And so the overall expenses came out to be, keeping everything the same, came out to be $84.38 more a month. So if I take my 1% of my base pay, I'm not dependent, I shouldn't financially be dependent on overtime or anything like that. But if I do the 1% increase, that's only $38.26. So when you bring it into a percentage perspective, with all the increases, it equates to a negative 1.2% increase for me. So, you know, what I gained last year, I'm now digressing. And so I feel like, you know, if it increases like this, and I know we haven't had a medical increase in several years, but it didn't take but one increase to surpass what I'd already received. So I hope that makes my point. And I know we're not talking about a lot, but it's my pocketbook. So to me, it's a lot. And so I know that there's been a lot of individuals who have expressed the same concern to me. And being on the staff senate, I feel like I have a responsibility to at least express that. I don't know if me saying anything will change anything, but if I don't say anything at all, it won't change a thing at all. So I've got to say something. So I'm hoping that we can consider what this increase does to those of us who do receive just the 1%. What's interesting is when I looked at it, suppose I got the full 2% across the board, I would still be at a negative 0.2%. So it's still digging into my pocket. So I've digressed still to when I first got my raise. So I really want us to consider that. I'm hoping maybe there will be more discussions considering the other increases, the others, other than just talking about the medical increase. And I know that has to happen. And there's a lot of other things I want to say, but there may be others that want to express some things. And so I want to give them an opportunity to do that. But just in my little corner of my little world, that's a big deal to me. You know, $84 a month is a big deal to me. And so I felt like I'm back at, okay, now I've got to work harder to make up this difference. And I'm tired of depending on overtime. I work a lot of events. I work a lot of athletic events. I enjoy what I do. I love working overtime because the money, obviously, but there has to be something where I don't have to work even harder now to regain what I've lost. And it might not sound like a lot to some people, but I'd be willing to bet there's a lot of staff, whether they're faculty staff or maintenance staff or what have you, that feel the same way. As soon as we start to feel like we're gaining some ground, and some of the guys in the staff on the maintenance side haven't gained anywhere near the ground that I have. And so I think there's a lot of things that still need to be considered. There's a lot of talks that need to take place about the maintenance staff. We're 17 positions supposedly under what we were originally several years ago, but I'm not seeing any new faces come into the maintenance department. I'm not seeing a lot of changes happen with individuals that were told you have to have a license in order to keep your job. They get the job, then they restructure, and then those individuals get no money for maintaining that license. And then if in order for them to maintain that license, they have to do it themselves. And so it's becoming increasingly difficult for the maintenance staff to, you know, handle everything that's going on. And now the increase isn't even enough to cover any kind of pay increase isn't even enough to cover the increase in the insurance and the other benefits. So I don't want us to digress. I want us to improve, and I feel like we're not doing that. And so I'm just hoping that will open up some doors and some opportunities for us to speak, but somebody has to say something. And so I just want to say something and express, you know, what's going on in my little corner of the world, because I think it affects everybody. And I'm not saying that, you know, someone making $150,000 a year, you know, I would love to have that kind of 1% increase, you know, but I'm not in that position. I don't do what they do. But 1% of a little amount is not very much. And so the increase on the insurance is just, I know it's necessary, but maybe there's some other way we can combat that, so to speak. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Any discussion from Jim's comments from the Senate? Not, we'll move on to public comment. Okay. Jim, thank you. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Maybe compared to this, but I did have a question about the staff star award. We don't really have guidelines. I mean, we do have some guidelines about, it can't be their spouse that nominates them, but if we did have one that was nominated again, and it's been 2 years, I just wanted to get everyone's opinion. Like, I feel they've already been nominated once. I don't feel they should be nominated again. I don't know. It's never been brought up. This is the first time I've had someone, you know, nominated again. I mean, I don't know if you want to, like, it's been more than 5 years, or I don't know how to address that. I mean, I would definitely share the comments, like with the person supervisor and everything, just to let them know that they've been awarded. But I mean, if someone want to discuss how you want to handle duplicate nominations.
I'd be interested kind of what we do on campus with other types of awards, like spirit of community and that kind of thing. But do you know if it's a situation where the supervisor changed? Okay.
Which is the
Same.
Yeah, they're doing the same job.
Same nominator or
No, different.
not? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm before I speak.
I'll say this, I think it's fair. If somebody has worked here and gets nominated again, that means that they're continuing to excel beyond what would be a reasonable expectation of, in other words, they're doing more than their job, right? These are the staff star awards. Well, guess what? If they're doing more than their job, instead of paying them what we're supposed to be paying them, let's give them the damn award if they've earned it. You know, that's my opinion. I don't think there should be a time limit. I think that it's fair. I think that these have turned into a good recognition mechanism. And along with what, he's right. You know, if you're working here at that level, you're taking a pay cut. So if we can give staff star award once a year to somebody because they're doing their job more than they should be, then let them have it. You know,
That would be my suggestion, maybe not more than once a year,
I think it's fair.
but I agree with David that if you were that, it's an excellent employee of Western, yes, absolutely. If somebody is nominating you and you're still doing excellent work, yeah, absolutely, but maybe do but once a year, just to make it a little more fair. That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is this this? I mean, this is not something that's in our policies.
I think it could be a committee policy that you guys agree on. And now that will help as the makeup of that committee changes for people to know how to address it. And I don't think we have anything that you can bring that to the full Senate. I think it'd be good. If you guys-
Everyone discussions.
Yeah.
I mean, just, you know, 'cause I mean, I think, like you said, it has been a couple of years and it is someone different nominating that person and, you know, and the person may not choose to come up again and accept it. And that's definitely, I did have someone that was nominated and they didn't want the public, you know, recognition. So I sent on the one the supervisor and just as a, you know, just because it's nice.
Yeah,
to hear that
yeah.
kind of stuff. So, I mean, yeah, they may or may not choose to do it, but I just wanted everyone's opinion before.
What a problem to have, you get nominated 2 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a surprise based on the folks we've had that have won those awards, that somebody can nominate them multiple times.
Thank y'all for the-
Taylor?
The restriction on how many people can get at award, like per month, right?
No, I think we kind of try to budget 3 just based on, that's what we've done, but no, there's not a rule against it. So. Yeah, to answer that question.
Yeah, we've done 3, I guess that's just what the website has on there now. I mean, and I have enough to go, I think until February, so we've got some nominations. So I guess if, you know, we start running low, we just need to promote more in our information and stuff like that, because there's a lot of great employees on the campus, so.
I would just say when you're making the policy, just be sure you say academic year, calendar year, like what is your.
Okay, but yeah, yeah.
Probably do FY or, because that's how the Senate runs, that'll help.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I think the frame should be at the level of the executive committee. And maybe we'll set up the next executive committee, have a vote to restock, so we're not trying to run at the head of the year to get some order. Because who knows? Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so now I'll open the floor for comment. Herb, if you would.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
My name is Herb Hess. I work for the Department of Facilities Management, where I'm a maintenance supervisor. Have been for the past 11 years. Been with the university for going on 23 years. So I want to touch on what Jim highlighted on. I don't want to beat a dead horse death, but I do want to put numbers to it. Like Dr. Hill alluded to, I do better with spreadsheets when I can see numbers and whatnot. As what was outlined in our benefits manual that we got from 2023 to 2024, we had anywhere between $25 and $50 a month increase on insurance premiums. So what does that mean? I don't know, $35 is not a lot to me. It's probably not a lot to anybody in this room. Based over the course of a year, it's $420. Not a lot of money to owe, not a lot of money to have. Doesn't mean a whole lot. Well, let's break it down in the context of the 1% raise that was touted, that was being given to us. So, my 1% raise is going to come out to $619.52 per year. My insurance is going up $420. So that's leaving $199.52 raise that I'm going to get this year. I mean, that's peanuts, right, Jim? That equates to $7.67 per paycheck pre-tax. Am I gonna, I don't know, is it a rounding error after taxes? Is what my raise is gonna amount to. My 1% raise is actually turning into a 0.3% pay increase after the increased premiums. I would really like for the benefits committee. I talked to somebody that used to be on the benefits committee, and he described it as that you get to see how the sausage is made, but you really don't have a choice in the ingredients. And I think I think the benefit committee needs to get involved in the ingredients of seeing how this sausage is made. I would like the benefits committee to look into seeing if self-insured is exactly the way to go. When I first started here in 2002, one of the drawing factors was the decent health insurance that the university offered at the time. I come from a factory of 60 some odd people in a little town called Tompkinsville, Kentucky, where you hoped and prayed you didn't get sick because you didn't have medical coverage, and if you didn't need medical coverage, you couldn't afford it. So driving an hour and 15 minutes to the big town of Bowling Green, Kentucky was advantageous to me because that meant that I would have access to medical care. Over the years, through various whatevers, the insurance is just not there anymore. It's not good. You can't. More often than not, people are looking at their checkbook to decide whether or not they can get sick. Sad to say. So I would like for the benefits committee to get more involved in the process, whether they can or not. If anything, to start asking questions. Is it worth it to be self-insured? My understanding is we have a pool of money, X amount of dollars. We could have somebody getting majorly sick to drain that pool, right? No?
Yeah, there's stop loss insurance after it hits a certain amount, so the pool can get drained, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, I mean, if the pool can get drained.
The pool can get drained in a bunch of different ways for mid-sized claims at small levels, but once it hits this, and I don't know that amount, Jordan, do you know it? Not for,
$250,000.
how much?
$250,000.
That's nothing.
Right,
Medical expenses.
right, you're correct, I want to stress that.
That's nothing. I spent 6 hours in the emergency room at Vanderbilt University, and that bill was $34,985. So $250,000 is not a lot. Again, I would like the benefits committee to look into being, if being self-insured is really the way to go. To ask questions, you should always question everything, as a good citizen should do. Question if we need to continue to be self-insured, if we need to participate in some other form of health insurance. I would like to stress out that the 1% raise, coupled with the insurance increase, if you make $420,000 a year or $42,000 a year, you're not getting a raise this year. If you make less than $42,000 a year, you're losing money. That's just the simple math of it. I think the university needs to look at getting back to insurance being a benefit to retain good and help good employees and attract good employees to because that was a major draw for me almost 23 years ago. So maybe look into other things. I don't know if it's possible for us to entertain this. The university contributes what, $585 a month towards our premiums or some number around that.
You know, it went up to $827.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
$327 a month.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible for the university to offer that to us. My wife, we purchase insurance on the open market exchange for her. It's $500 a month. So the university, why couldn't they give me that $827 a month and let me go buy insurance on the open exchange?
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, just something to consider. I just don't know if the self-insured model is sustainable for the future growth.
I will say that the university has been doing, we are actually, the benefits committee is being presented next month, or this month in November, with the difference between being self-insured and not self-insured. So the university is looking into that. I mean, it's not the benefits committee that will make that decision.
Right.
But it is something that they are addressing, and they are looking at those issues as well.
Are you on the benefits committee?
Yes.
Do you get to see comparisons, or do they offer comparisons as far as the health insurance and whatnot versus joining? Say it's like the city of Bowling Green, their family plan insurance is $140 a month. Our family plan insurance is $476 a month. Does the benefits committee get to see the comparisons of being self-insured versus being part of a larger network?
I've only been on it for almost 2 years. This will be the first time that they have done that RFP to get that self-insured and non-self-insured. So my understanding is they will do a presentation and let us know what the difference is and the benefits of that. So they have a firm that is researching that and getting that information as well. Is that what you understand?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm actively hoping that the benefits committee will do.
Right.
Will look long and hard at these because like Dr. Head alluded to earlier, you know, with the insurance plans that we have available to us, you're really gambling. You're really gambling on whether or not you're gonna get sick. You know, based on your past performance and past health levels, you know, that's gonna be the major deciding factor on the health insurance that you choose with the options that we have available to us. But unfortunately, the vast majority of staff and faculty that work here, you're gambling with the insurance that you have. You're gambling that you don't get sick. You're gambling that you don't get in a car wreck. And unfortunately, with gambling, the house always wins. In the end, the house is always going to win. So there's going to be a year where there's going to be something popping up. And I would hope that I would just encourage the benefits committee and the university as a whole to look strong and hard at getting back into the habit of offering good health insurance as a strong benefit to the employees. Because the 1%, you know, and a lot of people's cases is just going to be a push. This 1% raise is, I mean, I don't know. Am I going to turn it down? No. Am I going to go out and buy a new house or a vacation home with it? I'm not going to do that either. So, but I just wanted to bring it down onto my level of understanding, and it's the actual number. My insurance is not going up $35 a month. My pay is going up $8 a paycheck pre-tax. But again, it's not anything I'm ever going to see. So, but thank you for allowing me to come up here and ramble. I hope I made some sense. I hope I've made some people think, which is always what I endeavor to do. And I also want to say what I alluded to earlier in the meeting. I would really like for whoever, whether it's HR, Human Resources, Wade Pinkert, whoever, make Dr. Head's financial class an option for your vitality points that you have to get for your health insurance. That is more real world applicable than I think any health screening that you could get. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. All right, anyone else would like the floor for public comment?
No, I would just like to add to what Herb said, you know, his 1% is a push. There are some of us in this room whose 1%, along with the increase in insurance premiums, we've taken a loss. And that could be, I mean, me personally, it's a 2-year loss. So there's plenty of people on this hill that have taken multiple year losses by this increase.
Thank you. Any other comment before we wrap? Okay, so the announcement section. So I just have two items. The faculty and staff appreciation reception this afternoon at 2:30. Sent the Senate members an invitation just so we get on your calendar. Hope you can join other senators up there and other faculty and staff members. Understand if you have something else, but hope to see you guys up there. Our next Senate meeting will be at 10 a.m. on December 6th. We'll be back in this room on Zoom and then publicly on YouTube. And we will remind me. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second motion.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. A motion to adjourn has been made and seconded without objection.